Okay guys, we're going to do kind of part 2 of this whole process, which is getting the MP3 up on the web and on our podcast feed. So to do that, we're going to need to open up Firefox, which you should have downloaded in the first part. And we're going to navigate to a website. This website right here. Actually, while we're sitting here, why don't you, if you're listening to this, copy down these two addresses here, the control panel login and the podcast ping received addresses, and we're going to put them in as bookmarks in Firefox. We're actually going to put them in our search bar and then save them as bookmarks. So I'll just pause the video right here and jot these down. Okay. So we're going to go into Firefox, and the first thing we're going to do is copy in, let me, 1 second, there we go. We're going to copy in this address down here from the login. So let's head back up and type that in, http://secure. Now I've already got this in my computer. We're going to hit enter. And this is our control panel login for the website. And this is the back web of our website. It's sponsored by Ezekiel, and this is everything that we've got going on. Now the two pages that you're really going to need to be worried about for the podcast are your syndication and your pages over here. But let's start at syndication. If you click on the syndication icon, you'll see the only channel is Anona United Methodist Church, and the description is listen to sermons from our 9:30 a.m. service at Anona UMC. And you see we've got the last 8 or so sermons on here, but we're going to want to add one, and we're going to want to add the one for John 3:16. So we're going to click Add Item. We're going to title it John 3:16. The enclosure or link address is where we're going to upload our file. So we're going to go to My Files. We're going to click in the Sermon MP3 folder, and then we're going to click Upload File. And now we're going to find our John 3:16 MP3 right here. We're going to open it, and you can see in this progress bar that it is beginning to upload the file. Now this is the major reason that we use Firefox instead of Safari. Because if you use Safari or even Internet Explorer, you don't see this progress bar. So you won't know that the file is actually uploading. You'll just stare at it going, huh? Why isn't it doing anything? So we do have a method to our madness, which is part of the reason we're called Methodists, but I digress. And so here is here's this file, and it's uploading. So 57, 58, so on and so forth. And we're almost done here. You can see over here we've got the older ones that we've done. And when we upload the file, it's actually going to create two separate files, an MP3 and an M3U file. And notice how the rest of these all use the underscores instead of space bars, except for here. I'm going to have to go through and change this one. Alright, so our John 3:16 file is up there right now, and we can actually click on it and preview it over here.
John 3:16 is...
So, you see, we just previewed it. Now, we want to insert it, so we want to check mark it, and that's our MP3, not our MP3U. We want to make sure we do our MP3. Check mark, and go Insert Selected. And now we see it shows up in our link address over here. Bada bing. Publish date isn't as important. We're actually not going to put one in for the purposes of this. A publish date would be if we wanted to do a bunch of these syndications ahead of time, which doesn't really make much sense, but it's more so used for websites, the pages. Like if you want to create a page for an event that doesn't happen for a month, you can wait for that page to publish. So you can put a publish date in here, but we're not going to do that for right now. Now we need to put some information down in this field down here. So to get that information, we're going to need to go somewhere else on the website. So we're going to go over here to Pages. It's going to ask if we want to save this record, and we're going to want to save it. So let's click OK. And now we're going to go to Worship and Sermons and click this double arrow here and click on Sermons. As we go through here, we see, aha, John 3:16. And here is our sermon description for John 3:16. So we're going to select it and copy it, which on Apple is Command-C. And then we're going to go right back to our syndication page. So syndication, and yeah, we'll save the changes. Anointing United Methodist Church, John 3:16. And in this right here that says under construction, we're going to do Command-V, which pastes it. And now we're going to click on Source, because occasionally we get these little artifacts in here, such as this. This is just because when you write in different text formats, different things happen. So we're going to remove all these little extra things here. Otherwise, they'll show up in our description of our podcast. So we're just going to remove these. These NBSP are simply spaces. And the div at the end is like a paragraph divider. So we're just going to get rid of those. Click out of Source and Save. And that's our Save button right up there. So we hit Save. It saves the file. And now we've actually got this one ready to go. But before we update our podcast feed, we're going to do one more thing. We're actually going to go into Pages and go back to that Worship and Sermon page that we were at a moment ago. Worship and Sermons. Whoops. Click on Sermons. And you see for the 17th, it says download sermon MP3 and next step study sheet. That's a mouthful. Well, we're going to go here and type in download sermon MP3 because we want people who don't podcast to still be able to get our MP3s off of our website. And now we're going to highlight the word MP3 and we're going to go over here to this button, which is Insert or Edit Link. And we're going to go to My Files, and we're going to select John 3:16.mp3. Insert selected. You see that's right there. We click OK, and we've got a link there now, oops, up here, to our John 3:16 sermon. Okay? We're going to save. We're going to actually, now we're done on the Anona website. But we have to let iTunes know that we've updated our podcast feed. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up, we're going to type in that other really long address into here. Or, if you're smart, you can just save it as a bookmark. And you see right in here it has this whole website saved as a bookmark. But for the sake of this example, I'll start typing in this address. https://phobos. And there we go. Mine's already popped up. All right, and you're going to want to type in this whole thing. Podcast ping received. This lets Apple servers know that our podcast has been updated. So it says it received the ping, and here's our podcast ID right here. And now, if we go into iTunes, and we go to our podcast for the Anona United Methodist Church, and we click refresh down here, it automatically brings up John 3:16. And we can get that file. And now it's downloading it. See? Right there. So, that is basically how you do a podcast and an MP3 for the Anona website on a Mac. Alright? Now, if you don't have this podcast in your iTunes, here's what you can do. You can go to the iTunes store and search Anona Methodist and hit enter. And up comes our podcast. Ta-da! And then from here, you can subscribe. And you'll want to subscribe to this so that you can make sure that the sermons that you put up get added. So with that, we are done. And you now know how to put an MP3 and a podcast up on our website.